Okay. Next question says, which of the following is true under a monopoly? A, monopolists choose the highest possible price. B, monopolists choose a price that is always higher than marginal cost of production. C, marginal revenue of monopolists is price. And D, none of the above are true for monopoly. Let's take a look at the monopoly graph. Okay, so let's take this graph for monopoly. So the difference between monopoly and other types of, that's not the right graph. The difference between monopoly and other types of goods is because there's this distinct marginal revenue curve that's separate from the demand curve. And so we know profit maximization still occurs for monopolies at where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost right here. But because the marginal revenue curve and demand curve are different and monopolies are price setters, the price they set isn't here, it's up here. And so at price PM, that's where the monopoly sets. And so we know that this is not the highest possible price. The highest possible price will be over here, but that's not profit maximization. PM is profit maximization. And so it's not the highest possible price. B says monopolists choose a price that is always higher than marginal cost. That is true, right? Because if we say that you find the intersection of marginal cost and marginal revenue, and then you look at where that quantity demands a price on the demand curve, then the price you get will always be higher than marginal cost. So B is the correct answer. C says marginal revenue monopolist is price. And again, the marginal revenue of monopolist is not always price. The price is PM, but marginal revenue is lower. And so that's not going to be true. So B is the correct answer here. And the previous tutor also said B. Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. P is greater than marginal revenue for monopolist. P is equal to marginal revenue in perfect competition. Next, you have a manager of monopoly that faces demand curve described by P is equal to 230 minus 20Q. Your costs are C equals 50 plus 30Q. And the profit maximizing output for your firm is which of the following? 4, 5, 6, or 7. Okay, so a little bit of a calculus here. So profit maximization is given by the point in which the difference between total revenue and total cost, total revenue minus total cost is going to be the greatest, right? And so we're given this question, we know that total revenue is given by P times Q, so total revenue is given by 230Q minus 20Q squared. I think the previous tutor wrote this out, so we're just going to go if that'll work. Yeah, okay, so total revenue is given by 230Q minus 20Q squared, and profit is maximized when revenue minus cost is greatest, and cost is given by the cost curve, 5 plus 30Q. And so we subtract that from the total revenue curve, and you get negative 20Q squared plus 200Q minus 5. And we want to see where is this difference, which is a profit equation, where is this quadratic maximized? So we take a derivative, and you would get something like negative 40Q plus 200, and you would get Q is equal to 5, right? If we did 200 divided by 40, you would get 5. And so at Q equals 5, profit is maximized, and so the correct answer is B. So that's going to be correct. All work there was done correctly. Hopefully that equation and setup made sense. Number 3 says, which of the following is true? Number 1, a monopolist produces on the inelastic portion of its demand. B, a monopolist always earns an economic profit. C, the more inelastic the demand, the closer marginal revenue is the price. Or D, in the short run, a monopoly will shut down if P is less than ABC. So a monopolist produces on the inelastic portion of its demand. We see that the inelastic portion of demand is anything less than the equilibrium point, which would be marginal cost is equal to demand at C. So anything to the left is on the inelastic portion of demand, and you will always, always, always have a monopolist produce there. So A is going to be correct and true. Sorry, A is going to be false. It's not always going to be, sorry, I misspoke. Inelastic portion of demand is going to be on the lower half, so it's not always going to be true that a monopolist produces on an inelastic portion. You can also have a situation in which a monopolist is regulated and therefore produces at a different point. B says a monopolist always earns an economic profit, and so this is not always the case. If the AC average cost is higher here, right? Average costs were to be over here instead of down here, then you would find no profit. You find the monopolist would actually exit this market because it's making negative profit. So that's not always true. C says the more inelastic demand, the closer marginal revenue is to price, and so we see that if we put those factors in together, that's not necessarily true. Marginal revenue is independent from demand, and so a more elastic demand will have two curves that are more close together. And finally, D, in the short run, a monopoly will shut down if P is less than the average variable cost. And this is true. If you have to produce at a point in which a monopoly is losing money for every unit of output at average variable cost, then that's definitely going to cause them to exit the market. So D is going to be the correct answer here. And so we can take a look at the previous answer given by the tutor. In the short run, a monopoly will shut down if P is less than ABC, and so revenue must be greater than variable cost for a firm to continue its operation. That's true. 4, in a competitive industry with identical firms, long-run equilibrium is characterized by which of the following? In a competitive industry, P is equal to average cost, P is equal to marginal cost, C is equal to marginal revenue. C says marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, or D, all of the above. And so over here, long-run equilibrium, you're going to find all of these things are going to be the same. That price is equal to marginal revenue, okay? Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, okay? In the long run, that you find that it's going to intersect the average cost at a tangent point. And so in the long run, all of those things are going to be the same. So D is going to be correct, all of the above. Great. 5, you are the manager of a firm that sells its product in a competitive firm at a price of $50. Your firm's cost function is C is equal to 40 plus 5Q squared. Your firm's maximum profits are which of the following? So we do the same process that we did before. If we're selling a product at $50 in a competitive market, then the total revenue is 50Q, right? Your firm's cost function is 40 plus 5Q squared. So your profit function is 5Q squared minus 50Q plus 40. Or if we want to simplify that, it would be Q squared minus 10Q plus 4. And so that's going to be our derivative, and then we can take a derivative of that and substitute the value of Q into the profit function, and we would get 85 for the correct answer here, and that would be the correct answer for firm's maximum profits. Great. And so a perfectly competitive firm faces A, perfectly elastic demand function, B, a perfectly inelastic demand function, C, a demand function with unitary elasticity, or D, none of the above. And perfect elasticity, a perfectly competitive firm, we know means that all firms are price takers. Therefore, we have a perfectly horizontal demand curve, and that's what we call perfectly elastic demand function. And so A is going to be the correct answer here. So A, a perfectly elastic demand function, and that can be proven by this calculus here. So all these correct answers are correct. Good answers, and we can mark them all as correct, and we'll wrap that up. So I believe, yep, that's the last question for today. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys going over those questions. And other than that, I'll see you guys on Thursday.